Now for this hour we start with U.S. As per reports, Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein, invoked the Fifth Amendment during the closed-door virtual deposition before the House Oversight Committee. A portion of the video of the deposition shows Maxwell declining to answer if she was a close friend of Epstein. Maxwell has refused to say if she was involved in trafficking of young women or girls, and if she ever coerced any young women or girls to provide sexual favors to Epstein. As per reports, Maxwell has refused to provide the committee names of any additional co-conspirators or to answer if she was aware that Epstein was sexually abusing minors and adult women, and whether she ever participated in sexual abuse of any minor or adult women as well. Maxwell has a petition pending in federal court in New York that seeks to overturn her conviction or to reduce her sentence. Despite Maxwell refusing to cooperate, Comer has emphasized his committee's investigation will continue with 5 confirmed depositions on the books in the coming weeks, including Leslie Wexner, the retail billionaire who was once Epstein's largest financial client, on February 18th. Let's take a look at a short portion of the deposition of Maxwell.
Are you aware of Donald Trump ever engaging in sexual activity with an individual introduced to him by you or Jeffrey Epstein?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Okay. It appears that the committee will not receive substantive answers from you at this deposition. So at this point, I'd like to enter into the record as Minority Exhibits A and B, letters that the committee has received from survivors of Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell's abuse. These letters speak to the survivors' horrific experiences and to their desires for transparency, accountability, and justice in this investigation. We hope for their sake that we are ultimately able to get the answers that they deserve and that we were unable to get here today.
Now we welcome Mr. Raymond Vickery. He's an international affairs expert and former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, joins us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much, Mr. Vickery, for joining us, and good to see you. Now, looking at this, now that we know that Ghislaine Maxwell is not cooperating, hasn't she learned any lesson, or what are we to make of this pardon, or like her trying to get away?
Well, thanks very much for having me. It seems to me that this affair having to do with Epstein and who was involved with him shows the depth to which American democracy is descending. In order to have democracy, you must have transparency, so you have an informed electorate, and you must have respect for equal treatment under the law. What has happened with the Epstein situation is that it has descended into a partisan battle in which those initially calling for a release of files and information thought that it could be used against the Democrats. When it turned out that it most probably involves President Trump as well, then it was a different story entirely. Now, Maxwell is trying to get an advantage from what she knows. And she is trying to save her own skin. Her lawyers have made no bones about it, that in order really to testify, she's going to have have her sentence overturned. She should be given special treatment. This is not the way in which democracy, rule of law is supposed to work. Unfortunately, we do not see a lessening of the reluctance of the administration, particularly President Trump, to allow for transparency. And so you have a committee chairman, Comer, and you have others who are willing to go along with less than full transparency and equal justice under the law. I predict that Maxwell will continue to try to get leverage from this. She has seen that with the Trump administration, with President Trump, you can get let off from crimes, whether or not it be January 6th attack on the Capitol, whether it be drug running in Central America, whether it be just on the basis of your willingness to support the president in his falsehood about the 2020 election. So she's going to continue this because she thinks that she can get some advantage out of it. But make no mistake that the damage is being done both to the quality and implementation of democracy and the rule of law in the United States.
Yes, thank you for highlighting that, Mr. Vickery. Please stay with us as we stay on this news. Now, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has denied having a close relationship with late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Lutnick has said that he only had about 10 emails with Epstein over 14 years. He has explained that he had a one-time lunch with Epstein while on a family vacation near his island, stressing that family members were present as well. Lutnick has also maintained that there was nothing inappropriate about the lunch meeting. Lutnick has added that he met Jeffrey Epstein 3 times over 14 years, including once when Epstein moved next door. Now for this, we welcome back Mr. Vickery. He's joining us live from Washington. Now again, as you know, you just highlighted the damage is being done, especially to the current administration. How do you think the protection of political elites or the double standard is affecting the democracy in the US? And also, what does it reflect about the cracks or the maybe shadows that existed already about the democracy?
Well, thanks very much for allowing me to comment on this. It seems to me that the continuation of the cover-up is exemplified by what is happening with Secretary Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce. Secretary Lutnick's problem is that he can't get his story straight. He first of all said publicly that he really had no contact with Jeffrey Epstein after 2005. And then it comes out that not only did he have contact in terms of visiting Jeffrey Epstein's private island in the Caribbean, but he invested along with Epstein in a particular company. And now he's trying to say, well, yeah, maybe I wasn't right about the first statement I made, but the contacts were minimal after that. And the contacts were not minimal. He lived next door to Epstein. It is not the case that even after the initial conviction of Epstein on sexual misconduct charges, that he's cut off the contact. And so he is in some difficulty. But the problem here again is goes to what President Trump and his administration are now doing in regard to trying to cover up, leak very, very slowly documents, to redact documents, to prevent the whole story from coming out. And doubtlessly, and you've seen it already from the White House, they're going to protect Howard Lutnick, not because of any particular love for Howard Lutnick, because it is President Trump who wants to see less than full disclosure, less than transparency, and trying to get this genie back into the bottle. I would point out that for the first time, there are Republicans, Congressman Massey from Kentucky, and others who are saying, look, what is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander, and you cannot conduct a great democracy in this way. So this story is not over, but as contrasted with what's going on in Britain, at the very top you have President Trump, who does not want to see full transparency here and will protect whether it's Lutnick or Maxwell in order to be able to keep the full disclosure from coming out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vickery, for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, we have a live update coming in. Senator Chuck Schumer, along with survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, is unveiling Virginia's law, legislation that aims to eliminate statute of limitations for sex traffickers and abusers. Let's listen in.
Virginia, and to all the victims here today and throughout the world, must finally lead to change. And all you have to do is look at the faces of these beautiful women and just have total empathy for what they've gone through, admiration for their courage, and anger about what happened to them. So, thank you. Today, we're here to do something simple and long overdue. Today, I'm introducing Virginia's law, legislation to end statute of limitation barriers that have kept survivors of sexual violence from justice far too long, and to create new legal avenues to pursue justice, because justice should not expire. Justice should not expire. And because for survivors, healing does not run on a government clock. I'm also so proud to be joined by Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez, not just chairwoman of the Democratic Women's Caucus, but she's always been a fierce advocate for survivors and a partner in this fight. She's a champion and a fighter, and that's what a bill like this requires, a fighter who will relentlessly push for the cause of justice. Justice. That's what we demand, justice. And here is World Without Exploitation and Sigrid McCauley, whose work, along with the survivors, helped shape this legislation. We thank her. The bill exists. Why? Why does the bill exist? Because people refuse to accept silence as the end of the story. It's that simple. It cannot be when something this dastardly and this terrible and this heart-wrenching happens. For years, survivors of Epstein's abuse were ignored. They were doubted, they were silenced, they were dismissed. And even when the truth finally came out, even when the world finally listened, too many survivors were still told by the law, it's too late, your justice has expired. Not because the harm wasn't real, not because the abuse didn't happen, but because the system ran out the clock. When they were told, it's too late, your justice has expired, we aimed to change that. And that's what we're trying to do today. When you say the system ran out the clock, tough rocks, too bad, too late, that's not justice. That's a system that protects abusers by waiting survivors out. Our law, Virginia's law, changes that. It allows survivors to seek accountability when they're ready, when they're strong enough, supported enough, able to face the weight of civil litigation. Sometimes it takes years to recuperate from the horror that occurred. Why should the government say, well, we're setting an arbitrary time when you are able to pursue your case. Our law makes clear that abusers and those that enable them cannot escape responsibility by running out the clock. It makes clear that the law will empower survivors to pursue justice, and it recognizes something survivors have always known. Time does not erase harm. Time does not erase harm. Jeffrey Epstein depended on silence and fear, on a system that protected power instead of protecting people. Today we are saying no more. This bill carries Virginia Giuffre's name because she spoke when so many were told not to. And because her story and the story of the survivors standing here today, and we salute you again, all of you, for your courage. These nice faces. It shouldn't have happened to you. It shouldn't have happened to you. So, no survivor should ever be told again that the law failed them and that time mattered more than truth. The survivors of Jeffrey Epstein have waited long enough. Virginia waited long enough. The time for justice is now, and Congress must act. So now let me call on our great leader in the House, Representative Teresa Leger Fernandez. Where'd you go? Oh.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Leader Schumer, for your amazing work on this issue, which is not new. You have championed these issues for many, many, many years in the House and in the Senate. But I want to also acknowledge the survivors. We have shed tears together because what happened was horrible. The cover-up and the abuse that continued by refusing to acknowledge the pain and the crimes and everything that happened was also an injustice. And that's what we are here to do.
Now we welcome back Mr. Raymond Vickery. He's a former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, joins us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much, Mr. Vickery, for staying with us. Now we have heard Senator Schumer speak, and he has shared such powerful message, justice should not expire. While we were just discussing the damage is being done, although it is uncertain how long will it take to pass this Virginia's law into actual law, a process which includes this majority vote from both the U.S. House of Representatives and Senate. And last but not least, it needs a signature from U.S. President Donald Trump. How do you analyze how long will it take, and would U.S. President be able to sign this, as we were saying that him or his administration shares some kind of reluctance towards these?
Well, thanks for allowing me to comment on this. You know, statutes of limitations in the law serve a purpose to put an end to things which otherwise would continue. For some heinous crimes, there is no statute of limitations, murder and other heinous crimes. And what this bill is trying to do is to do away with the statute of limitations for these sexual trafficking crimes. In the ordinary course, one might think, well, there should be a time limit in which you put an end to the controversy and the opportunity for prosecution. The problem is the perversion of the rule of law by the Trump administration particularly. President Trump is an expert at waging what we call lawfare, which is like warfare. That instead of justice being blind and operating in a institutionally correct manner, You use the law to try to punish your enemies and protect yourself and your friends. And so one of the ways in which you do that, as Leader Schumer has pointed out, is simply to delay. And if you delay and cover up long enough for some crimes, then you can escape there being any punishment involved. And so this press conference today, this conference with this about this Virginia bill, is indicative of how the law really has been perverted from an institutional equal approach and transparency into one of delay, cover up, and unequal treatment for political purposes. So it's a very distressing development, but one we haven't seen the end of.
Thank you, Mr. Vickery, for sharing that insight. We're moving back to the live that's coming in as late Virginia Joffrey's brother is speaking now. Thank you very much, Mr. Vickery.
That was a tearjerker. I am the crier in my family. I'm just going to throw that out there. So, all right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sky Roberts, and I am the brother of Virginia Roberts Giuffre. I am deeply honored to stand here today alongside some of the most extraordinary people you will ever meet, including World Without Exploitation, Congressman Chuck Schumer, Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez, survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, and the legendary Sigrid McCauley, known to many of us as Siggy. I want to begin with a single word, a word that meant everything to my sister, a word we will not stop fighting for until real justice is served. And that word is change. Virginia's dream was to inspire and empower survivors to come forward. In a world that too often turns away from abuse and pushes it into the shadows, she wanted to bring light. That light is change. Virginia's dream was to inspire and empower survivors to come forward. One of the main missions of her nonprofit SOAR was to eliminate the statute of limitations on adult sex trafficking. She talked about it all the time while elevating the voices of survivors, alongside her publicist and dear friend, Deanie von Muffling. Today, we give Virginia her voice back. We amplify the voices of survivors around the world. Today, we send a clear message to perpetrators everywhere by introducing Virginia's Law. We are introducing Virginia's Law because survivors deserve justice, not expiration dates. Change must mean justice, not someday, not in speeches, not in private settlements, justice in law, justice in court, and justice in the form of consequence. Virginia's Law is more than legislation. It is a change in the truest form. It challenges how we see, how we confront, and how we respond to sexual abuse and sex trafficking, not just in theory, but in reality. We do not take this moment lightly. We are holding an overwhelming mix of grief, loss, and pride. And if our voices shake and our tears fall, it is only because of the depth of our love for our sister. Grief without action is another kind of silence. And Virginia did not survive what she survived just to be silenced again. And with that, I'd like to turn that over to my wife, Amanda.
Virginia was a passionate voice, a fierce warrior, and an unwavering advocate for survivors everywhere. She named what others were afraid to name. She stood up to wealth, status, and power, and she proved that having money does not guarantee exoneration in the eyes of the court. Virginia's purpose was always to create lasting change. Her truth and resilience helped spark a monumental shift in how survivors are seen and heard. But she also knew cultural change is not enough. She saw the legal gaps survivors fall through, and she was determined to close them at the legislative level.
Now we move on to